It may sound like a license for defense contractors to print money, but not this time.
The old way of thinking was you design a plane and then make it as superior and as performance bound as you can, and then worry about paying for it later. That just no longer works with the reality of defense budgets.
For decades, the Cold War protected defense budgets. Military spending was untouchable. Not today. This is the new generation of fighter.
This aircraft will accomplish them.
Canada, the US, Britain, and several other nations have teamed to develop an effective warplane on the cheap, and it has to be everything to everyone. It will replace no fewer than 3 different kinds of jets. It'll have to land vertically, like the Harrier. It'll be fast and nimble for air-to-air combat for the Air Force, and it will be powerful to carry it off the deck of aircraft carriers for the Navy. Then one other thing, it will have to be virtually invisible to radar, just like a stealth bomber. Getting all those features into just one jet will be difficult, especially when you consider it all has to be done for just $35 million a plane. That's the #1 requirement of the project.
It was a necessary step. Eventually, fighters were going to cost so much that you wouldn't be able to afford them anymore. I mean, the F-22 is approaching $200 million.
Boeing is just one of the companies bidding to build the super cheap super jet.
Instead of just pursuing performance capability, we try to balance affordability and performance. And that's really a difference in how the programs run compared to previous programs.
Boeing has some stiff competition. Lockheed Martin is also in the race. The designs are similar. The winner will be the company that packs the most technology into a plane at the lowest price.
Autopilot on.
To keep costs down, the Boeing cockpit is being fitted with some surprising equipment.
DOISD.
In the past, cockpits were custom made. Almost everything was built from scratch.
Operating within normal parameters.
But look closely at this Joint Strike Fighter cockpit. This is an off-the-shelf Samsung laptop computer screen, considered a good but inexpensive brand made in Korea.
We can use that commercial off-the-shelf technology, ruggedize it for what we need. For instance, in this case, if we just took a piece of laptop glass, it wouldn't be bright enough. So we have to add, brighter bulbs behind it. However, that basic system capability is still there. And so we're using that as far as off-the-shelf.
Boeing says it could develop screens from scratch, but they'd be expensive, likely not much better than those you can get at your local computer store.
Open T-flare.
The story is the same for the graphics systems and onboard computers in the cockpit. Many of them share features not that different from those on your own home computer.
Gears on.
But don't let that fool you. This is definitely not a computer game. Boeing's Joint Strike Fighter will carry some of the most advanced avionics, defense, and weapons systems, and the way the pilot will use them could revolutionize the way planes are flown through the next century.
In the past, we've had a lot of information presented to the pilot on what my aircraft is doing. How, big gauges on airspeed indications and my fuel state. But what we've said is most of that information you only need transitory for a short period of time. What you really want is information about the outside world, where the threats are, where my friends are.
Take this visor.
What you see in the helmet here is a shell. You've got a plexiglass visor with a special coating on the inside. There's 2 display that come out right here, projected onto a mirror that you see in the back, and that's reflected onto the inside of the visor itself.
The visor allows the pilot access to important information no matter where he's looking.
The frame of reference is the target itself.
It can project instruments or a virtual 3D picture of the world around his plane. Radar and a series of sensitive instruments gather the information and create the computer-generated image. It's an advance that will make flying safer and easier, including tricky vertical landings.
And it allows those pilots to be able to look through the structure of their airplane to clear their landing site. T-flare deploy.
Many instruments are voice-activated. The pilot can ask for updates on fuel.
Sample update.
Total fuel is 8,900 pounds.
Or the position of a wingman.
Through normal tactical comm, the airplane will tell you he is right 5 low, for instance.
Voice recognition allows the pilot to hold the controls. Virtually everything in the cockpit can be changed with a few simple words.
If I want to change radios, frequencies, any kind of a squawk code, if I want to bring up a display, if I want to change some parameter on the display, which you see here, I don't have to take my hands off to touch it. I just tell the voice recognition what I want.
Joint Strike Fighter won't go into full service for at least another 7 years. Until then, the testing and improvements will continue, every possible scenario being played out in the computerized cockpits. The plane's design can be changed or updated because it's entirely being developed on computer without any paper blueprints. Better, faster, cheaper. Sounds good on paper, but it's an idea that's produced some unsettling results for NASA's Mars program. They've lost 2 spacecraft in the past year, both built under the new economic rules. At Boeing and Lockheed Martin, they don't want to make the same kind of mistakes. Navigating the Joint Strike Fighter through the new military mantra has been a relatively smooth flight so far, but the difficult mission is still far from over.